I'm going to go to the worksheet called Lookup. And I've got this range of cells for these employees. So I've got an employee ID, I've got their name, their region, their department, and their earnings. And I want to be able to find information about that employee and place it in the results at the top of this worksheet. Now, by the way, this results could be on a different sheet, different workbook, but I could be having it grab the information out of this range. One option for this is to use a formula with a VLOOKUP. V stands for vertical, meaning that it's going to look vertically within a range of cells to find an answer of whatever we're looking up. Let me explain that a little bit more. I'm going to go to B6 and I want to find the name that goes with the employee ID number. The employee ID number is in A6. I'm going to use a VLOOKUP to look within this employee range of data to find that employee ID number and find the name that matches with it. So I'm on B6. I'm going to do equal the letter V. And I'm going to double click VLOOKUP. You can see the arguments going across the bottom. If you don't know for sure what all of that means or what it is, click FX. FX then will take you into that function arguments window where it will help you break apart the arguments. And if you need additional help, of course, help on this function is at the bottom left. So my lookup value is going to be A6. That's the cell I want it to find. The table array is a fancy way of saying range of cells. So where am I going to find this employee ID number and whatever I want the answer from? That's going to be A10 through E, all the way down to the bottom of this list, E49. So I wanted to look within this range to find the lookup value and the column index number. The column index number is going to be the column within my table array that has the answer I want. In this case, I'm looking up the name. So within that range of cells, the employee ID is the first column, name is 2. So my column index number is going to be 2. I'm going to click OK, and it automatically brings back Trevor Johnson because the employee ID number matches up with Trevor Johnson. So a VLOOKUP is a very common function to use, but I honestly don't use it anymore because we have a new function. And this new function called XLOOKUP for me has replaced VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. I no longer use either one of those because an HLOOKUP, we have to count down in rows. With a VLOOKUP, we count across in columns, and we're limited to the first column or first row of your range has to be what you're looking up. So in this case, we had to be looking up the employee ID number. With an XLOOKUP, it doesn't do that. It is more intelligent and it gives you additional features. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm just going to do the same formula looking up the department, but I'm going to use it with an XLOOKUP instead of V. I'm going to do equal X. I'm going to double click on XLOOKUP. If you look at the arguments that you're getting, it first wants to know what is my lookup value. I still want to look up A6 as an example. Comma, it wants to know what is my lookup array. What's the range of cells I want to look up? Where is it going to find my lookup value? I can simply select whatever column I'm looking up. I could be looking up their name. It doesn't have to be the first column within the range. We just select whatever column has those values. So if I select all the way down from A9 or A10 down through A49, that's where it's going to find the employee ID. Comma, all it wants to know is, well, where's the data going to come from that you want for your answer? In this case, I want the department. So I can select D10 down through D49. So that's where it's going to find the answer. So it's going to look across either from the left or from the right, and it's going to find the answer. If I control enter, it automatically will find the department related to that employee ID number. Every time you change the employee ID number, it's going to automatically find that employee. It's going to find their department, and it's going to be finding whatever their name is. Now, by the way, I have a drop-down menu on A6. That's coming from data validation. Another session we could do another day. But just so you can see, an XLOOKUP gives you that capability. But just so you can see, what if I decided that I want to actually find multiple pieces of information? I want to be able to find their name, their region, their department, and their earnings. I'm going to actually change this a little bit. As a matter of fact, let me copy this, and I'm just going to paste it over here. And I'm going to say I want to look up this employee ID number of E001, but I want to get the answer to all of the other criteria about that employee, not just one column. If I did this with a VLOOKUP, it would be a separate formula for the name, for the region, for the department, for the earnings. With an XLOOKUP, it's one formula. It will automatically populate the corresponding columns to the right. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to start on H5. I'm going to do equal X. I'm going to double click on my XLOOKUP because that's the function that I want to use. And then my lookup value is actually going to be G5, comma, what is the lookup range to find that employee ID? That's going to be A10 down through A49. Now, I probably would have named those ranges if I'm going to keep using them over and over again, but just so you can see. I'm going to put in a comma. Let me scroll back up here so you can see what it's doing. Now it wants to know, where is the answer going to come from? If I want more than one column of answers, I can select as many as I need. So I'm going to select B10 through E49, B10 through E49. But let me scroll back up here, sorry. But there's more to this XLOOKUP than what you've seen so far. So I'm going to put a comma after my lookup array, and it wants to know now if not found. So if the employee ID isn't found, do I want to have an error message of some sort? I'm going to say, quote, employee ID not found. I have a built-in error code. And with an XLOOKUP, I can do another comma, and it wants to know, do I want an exact match of that employee ID number? If I'm doing random numbers that I'm looking up, I might want to say an exact match or the next smallest item, which is what a VLOOKUP can do with an approximate. But a VLOOKUP can't go larger. So I could say an exact match or larger as well. We have more capability with an XLOOKUP. Now, I do want an exact match, so I do want it to be a 0. So I'll put a 0 in. I'm going to control enter, and it automatically has now populated the name, the region, the department, and the earnings for the employee ID I was looking up, all in one formula. And the error code that I had put in, if I enter an invalid ID number, somebody that's not in the list, it's going to give me the error that I put into the XLOOKUP, employee ID not found. So I don't have to add another function to an VLOOKUP to say if error and tell it what I want to do. Now, Excel knew that this was an area that we needed some additional help with. So now it's all built in to the XLOOKUP. I no longer do a VLOOKUP or an HLOOKUP. I just use this. And just to give you an idea of if I wanted to do an approximate lookup with an XLOOKUP, let's say that I want to find the discount percent based on a purchase amount. I can do equal XLOOKUP. XLOOKUP does both a VLOOKUP and an HLOOKUP, just so you know, it will do both. But if I want to do this with an XLOOKUP, I can say, here's my lookup value, comma, where is it going to find that value? It's going to find it within this range, comma, where's the answer going to come from? It's going to come from this range. Do I want it to find the next highest number or the next lowest number? I could do if not found, I could say not valid or whatever I want to say, comma, the match type. Do I want it to find the next highest number or the next lowest number? I'm going to say exact match or next largest number. I'm going to control enter. It found 18% for this 5500 because 5500 wasn't in this list. 5000 is here, but I told it to go to the next highest. Next highest is actually the 7500 for the 18%.